I'm going to reveal something right now. King Charles is deeply concerned about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's financial situations and believes that this couple wants him to bail them out. But he is also well aware that things have not gone well in Montecito and that the money is running out. King Charles is fully aware of this. The King's decision to go ahead with that meeting, in part, it is to try and stop them in the future from financially blackmailing the King into bailing them out. That is a decision that I think could haunt Charles for the rest of his days. That is a decision that could come to overshadow his reign. Where's the scrutiny on Meghan's AI'd images? Where's the scrutiny on Meghan's invisible children? Substack community have been asking me the most penetrating questions about the British royal family, and I cannot wait to answer them today in this very special edition of the Royal Uncancelled After Show. Straight to Jacqueline Layton, who says, "Hi Dan, why do you think Meghan didn't show her face on the recent trip to the UK besides being a non-supportive wife? Did she just fear being booed? Do you think the King will bail out litigious Harry? This is the only reason I believe Meghan wanted to see the King to slime her way into his wallet and maybe plan a permanent, all-expenses-paid UK return to keep Harry away from the Montecito girlfriend." Jackie, great question. Jacqueline, sorry, I shouldn't shorten it, should I? Although I feel like on Substack we're all sort of mates. But Jacqueline, I absolutely know that you are onto something. I'm going to reveal something right now, Jacqueline, in answer to your question. King Charles is deeply concerned about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's financial situations and believes that this couple wants him to bail them out. He lives in fear about this. It is a huge concern. He knows that the British public would not accept it, but he is also well aware that things have not gone well in Montecito and that the money is running out. King Charles is fully aware of this. So while I totally understand that a lot of you, because I'm one of them, disagreed with the King's decision to go ahead with that meeting, in part, it is to try and stop them in the future from financially blackmailing the King into bailing them out. So in answer to your question, why did Meghan not... Well, I'm going to answer all of your questions, actually. Why did Meghan not show her face in public? Is she feared of being booed? Yes, she is, but she would not have been booed within Invictus. You know, there was hardly anyone there in Birmingham. These people were all security checked. The reason she didn't show her face was far, far more strategic than that. Meghan Markle did not want to be at all associated with Prince Harry's loss in the Associated Newspaper's case. She always runs when the loser Harry is on the ropes. We know that. So that's why she didn't want to be seen. It was nothing to do with the security. Will the King bail out litigious Harry? This is the big problem. So I can be very clear in my answer in terms of the court case. No, there is absolutely no way that King Charles steps in to bail Harry out of any difficult situation like that. The King has learnt his lesson from the decision to contribute money to bail Andrew Mountbatten Windsor out of his civil court proceedings versus the accuser Virginia Giuffre. That is a decision that I think could haunt Charles for the rest of his days. That is a decision that could come to overshadow his reign. So is he going to make the same decision to ludicrously bail Harry out? No, that is not happening. But is there a possibility that once the money runs out, because of the court cases, because of the ludicrous lifestyle demands, because of the need to pay for security, that's where I think royal courtiers and certainly Camilla and certainly William are worried that Charles may show off a side that is far, far too soft. Because I think a lot of people forget that Charles did already give in to some of Harry's demands. I mean, the first year after Megxit, all of Harry's security costs were paid by the King. Harry believes that that type of relationship should continue in perpetuity. The problem is it was £5 million at least just for that 1 year of security. And the idea was that we want you to be safe. You can get on your feet over the course of that year, or you can realize we've made a terrible decision and we're coming back. Now, the interesting thing, and I just want to pose this as a question, just imagine if that trial period had not been 1 year, It had been 5 years. And just imagine that trial period was coming up for review now. I think you would see Harry decide he did want to return to the British royal family. He did want the permanent paid for security. He did want to spend time living in the UK. The problem is, what's happened, of course, over the past 5 years is that Harry trashed the British royal family from a great height, that Harry allowed his wife to make accusations of racism against people within the British royal family. And for all of those reasons, that is why I think we cannot and will not turn back the clock. Susan Short says, "G'day, Dan. Greetings from Down Under." Hello. Regarding Meghan's Daytime Emmy nomination, my question is, do you think that they chose her show just to catch her reaction when she does not win? I've heard that she is lobbying to have her section filmed and shown at the main Emmys. There are a lot of disgruntled people working in the industry who would love to see her taken down a peg or two. It's just a passing thought. Cheers, Dan. Love your show. Look, my honest view on this is that Meghan is not going to attend the Daytime Emmys ceremony. She wanted the nomination. She wanted to say that she was an Emmy nominee. And of course, she is desperately lobbying and campaigning behind the scenes for the win. And the way that these campaigns work is that there are lots of dodgy and dirty dealings that are done behind the scenes. And you see this with all of the major Hollywood awards ceremonies. I'm not revealing any big state secret within Hollywood. It's just that ordinary folk probably think that if you win an Oscar or if you win an Emmy, it means that you have made the best television program or you have made the best film. Poppycock. It does not mean that for a single second. What it means is that you've had the best campaign, that you've either paid for the most ads, that you've managed to get the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and Status and a whole load of sort of Hollywood industry publications on site. How have you done that? Usually by paying them a hell of a lot of money to advertise your show for your consideration, which is directly aimed at this tiny pool of people who vote for said award ceremony, in this case, the Daytime Emmys. But Meghan is not going. She's not going. If I'm proven wrong on this, fine. But the Daytime Emmys is a cheap and nasty event. It's a tacky event. It's for the daytime TV shows. And look, I worked in daytime TV for 10 years. I'm no snob, but daytime TV is dying. The halcyon days of Oprah Winfrey versus Ricky Lake versus Sally Jessy Raphael versus Montel Williams versus Jerry Springer, they are long gone, okay? What daytime TV is now is really saddos who are making shows for prime time like Meghan Markle, but when they don't work out as primetime shows, try to rewrite history and enter them into the Daytime Emmys category. I'm sorry, there's nothing about With Love Meghan that should qualify it for a Daytime Emmy. It was a primetime show made on primetime budgets with a astronomical budget, huge, tens of millions spent on that show. I know it's unbelievable. 80 full-time staff members using top-of-the-range Netflix filming gear. This is a joke to suggest for a single second that this award should be eligible for the Emmy. So do I think that people want to catch a reaction when she does not win? Of course I do think they want that. I just don't think they're going to get the chance because she's not stupid enough to show up. Okay. To Susan Pappas. Hi, Dan. I watch your show faithfully. Thank you so much. I've had a thought after seeing pictures of the Sussex children at Althorpe. This time Lily is wearing sandals on her feet, but her hair, which appears to have been chemically treated with blonde stripes, is still uncombed. It looks pretty, but I've only seen it on 5-year-olds who have mothers who commercialise their kids. The family pictures from Althorpe appear to have different kids in different pictures. The girl who appears to be diving in a pool while Harry waits in the water is not the 5-year-old walking with her doll and purse across the grass. AI, she suggests. Susan, let's just be honest about this for a single second, because you're not getting honesty from the mainstream media on the release of any of these Meghan Markle pictures. They are covered with AI. They are covered with Photoshop. And don't you just think this is another example of the total two-tier reporting that we receive when it comes to Catherine and William and Meghan and Harry, where the mainstream media provide so many passes for Harry and Meghan? It's like they want them to succeed. They want them to come back. I don't personally understand. Like, Harry and Meghan have tried to shut down the mainstream media. They've tried to sue your ass. They've tried to get you out of business. Then you give them a pass. But do I think that is happening? Absolutely, I do. Because Susan has just pointed out, and look, we discuss it every single day on Outspoken, all of these discrepancies about the fake children, all of these discrepancies about different models that are being used in certain cases, discrepancies in terms of very obvious use of AI and Photoshop. And just think of what happened when on one occasion, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, photoshopped a family picture because guess what? She was battling cancer. I mean, she wasn't doing it for no particular reason. And what happened? You had all of the photo agencies picking over these pictures. Then the mainstream media bods started saying, oh, this is Photoshop, this is Photoshop, this is Photoshop, this is Photoshop. So then those same picture agencies, which for years have faithfully reproduced images of the British royal family because it's a very good business for them, started to say, oh, we're going to have to provide warning labels on pictures from Kensington Palace in the future. Of course, they all look like revolting assholes just weeks later when Catherine made the announcement of her own diagnosis. But the point that I'm making is, where's the scrutiny on Meghan's AI'd images? Where's the scrutiny on Meghan's invisible children? Because we cannot tell for sure if they are using stand-ins sometimes because we don't know what the real children look like. So look, it's just totally hypocritical. But I think all we have to start assuming, and I don't, Susan, just say this about the pictures too, I say it about the release of information from the Sussexes. It can never be taken at face value. No picture can be taken at face value. Questions have to be asked always. When was this really taken? What AI manipulation has gone on? What Photoshop has been used? Who are really in those pictures? I ask those questions every single day. It's not to say, by the way, that I believe all of the pictures are fake. It's not to say that I don't think the pictures should be covered. But it's just like when you look at press information, which is revealed from the Sussexes. So often it's not true because their releases are designed to press a particular narrative or try and deal with a certain issue in the news. So I think recently, right, of all of the mainstream media royal rota losers in that WhatsApp group, including the British Bashing Corporation, who should know better, who just reported faithfully on every single release coming from that group about Harry and Meghan's trip to the UK, even though provably a lot of that information within a few days would prove to be untrue. Like the fact that they had security, like the fact that they were staying at Buckingham Palace. You know what I'm saying. We've covered it in depth. But the wider point for me is that you are a very irresponsible stenographer or propagandist if you just take this information from Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and you republish it without asking the questions. So I'm not in the group of, and I know there are some of you out there who say, Dan, don't show the pictures whatsoever. No, that's not what I do. How do you think I've exposed the Sussexes' lies over the past decade? By going into everything that they say and do and pulling it apart. That is what I believe my duty is. No one has to watch that, but I think if we hadn't done that over the past decade, then maybe there would be no British royal family to speak of, given the damage that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle were trying to do with their racism accusations. So I hope that answers your question, Susan. Okay, to Helen O'Driscoll, who says, hello, gorgeous Dan, you're too sweet, Helen. Holy moly, I've got so many questions. The first one, though, is about poisonous toad Harry. Someone in the media, can't remember who, let it slip that the toad was coming back to England in 2 months. Oh no, is it true, Dan? As part of his rehab with the public BS, I hope it is not true. Well, look, he wants to, yes. But is he going to bring the children in September? I think it's highly, highly unlikely, given that it is also highly, highly unlikely that he is ever going to get the security protection from Ravik that he so demands. So are we going to, unfortunately, have to put up with Harry continuing to come to the UK? Yes, we are. And I know how you feel about that. I get it. It's a circus, and we hate playing into that circus. All of that, I do completely understand. But is this horse and pony show going to continue? Yes, it is. Because what else does he have at this point? Sandra Ford asks, hello, Dan. Will Harry and Meghan lose their titles? Will Harry be taken for the line of succession and the councillors of state so that we can get rid of the whole family completely? I'm just going to answer this one very quickly, Sandra. Not under the reign of King Charles III. Potentially under a Prince William V. But at this point, no. So that is a very simple answer to your question. And I know that is upsetting. It's the wrong decision. It doesn't mean that we can't campaign for what the right decision should be. But as it stands, the answer to your question is no. Christine Holyroke, Substack subscriber, thank you, says, hi, Dan. I said about the last visit, I thought just maybe one of the staff might have noticed which child had been holding the cup plate or some object and quietly had it tested, just for absolute proof of their validity. It's possible. What do you think? And there's a couple on this note, actually, and these are all paid Substack subscribers who have great minds. So let me just come to all of these just so you can hear all of the thoughts on this. Helen D says, the phantom children, I have a wildish theory about why they keep the children away from even friends and family in the UK, because someone might accidentally take a sample and, well, it could be life-changing for many people. And Susan Matthews, on a similar note, says, I'm hoping they've secretly taken DNA from the phantom children while they were there. I genuinely feel very sorry for the children. None of this is their fault, but wouldn't it be wonderful to finally get proof they're not royalty after all? So, this is a very, very serious matter, of course, and I absolutely am convinced that one of the reasons, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are so horrendous in their upbringing of these children, that they have effectively kept them imprisoned in a gilded cage in Montecito, without any real contact with their relatives in the United Kingdom, is in part because of the risks of exactly what is being suggested. What if in the United Kingdom a courtier was able to take DNA from the children? Now, it's not something that would ever be encouraged on an official level, but I know for sure that there is huge consternation within the households of the royal family about the way Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and I do apologise for using this term, but are taking the piss and continue to take the piss and continue to laugh in our faces while also wanting our money, while also wanting the royal family to end. The big issue with all of this, though, is that it would never be officially sanctioned, and members of the British royal family's staff, so the servants, the courtiers, however you want to put it, are subjected to the Official Secrets Act. Trust me, I know all about this because I was one of the first people in contact with members of the Sussex Survivors Club, this group of people who had worked with Harry and Meghan in the United Kingdom, in the British royal family, and have been gagged and can only speak off the record, and even then feel very scared to do so because of the potential legal ramifications. So the point that I'm making is that even if one of these courtiers was brave enough to do that and it was able to prove something, the chances of us actually getting the evidence of it is very difficult. So we come back to the fact that it would have to be the current monarch asking for proof or the current government asking for proof, to which Harry and Meghan would just say no. And so this is the issue that we receive. It's really not straightforward. Marie asks, hi, Dan. Proud member of the Danbot army here. Love you, Pamela. Minister of Entertainment. Oh, good. We need some entertainment in these difficult times, don't we? Also Americans, so please pardon my ignorance. Do you know what? Americans are not ignorant about the British royal family at all. I actually find Americans are very, very educated because you want to discover what's really going on. Okay, so my question. Is it feasible for the Tyndalls to take over Invictus? They're busy people who do the monarchy proud. They seem like perfect fits, though. Look, it's perfectly feasible in the sense that they would be brilliant at it, and I do think they have the time for it. And I think if you think of any members of the royal family that could put in the vigour and the positivity, but also the lack of ego required to save the Invictus Games, it's those two. Of course, the big issue is that it would have to be Prince Harry to agree for that to happen, and that is simply not an option. Look, can we stop, and I know you're going to agree with me on this, Pamela, but can we stop pretending that Prince Harry is a decent man in any way? Prince Harry would rather see the Invictus Games fall flat on their face and be cancelled than ever allow Mike and Zara to take over. And so, unfortunately, I think that is much more what is likely to happen rather than see some type of scenario where the Invictus Games are reinvented. I'm just being honest that is where I think Harry's brain is at. And it's horrible and it's nasty, but it's where we're at. Janine from Jersey asks, do the royal children, George, Charlotte and Louis, have friends? Do they hang out with other kids their age, not just in school, but outside school? Absolutely, Janine, they do. And I love this question, actually, because I think sometimes people don't understand about the day-to-day. And William and Catherine have been so focused on providing a normal upbringing for their children. But what does that really mean? And I'm in a privileged position, actually, where a close friend of mine had her children at the same school as William and Catherine. And so she would give me insight, never insight that was at all invasive about the children's privacy or anything like that, but very much just about what they were like as a family and what the contribution of William and Catherine was like to school life. And it was very genuine and it was very engaged and it was very regular. They were completely normal kids at school and they were completely normal parents who would have a regular role in school events. And outside of school, it did mean the kids have friends. The kids could hang out with friends. They especially love going to the local Italian restaurant, for example. So absolutely, the children do live normal lives. Of course, there are just some certain issues that come with this, like the security and those types of checks. But again, I know from the close protection officers who are with members of the royal family, wherever possible, they try to make life as normal as it can be, and they try to be as sort of inintrusive as it possibly can be. Royal Blood 405 asks, in dealing with the royal family, sources are everything. How do you determine which sources can be trusted and which source is questionable? This is such a good question. It's the age-old question. And what you see with reporting in the British royal family is that people are so nervous to speak. With me, I was very lucky. People understood that I was a brave journalist and that I was going to question the narrative. So especially during Meghan Markle's time within the royal family, a lot of people who knew what was really going on knew that I was probably the only journalist that was going to be brave enough to report on some of the stuff. And that proved to be true on a whole load of issues. And so they were very happy to impart information with me. But obviously, I'm always weighing up where information has come from, if it's legal, can it be trusted? I mean, one of the things that Prince Harry tried to do with me was actually claim that my reporting had been illegal, and it was not. And he always tries to do this. So, yeah, you've got to take sourcing very, very seriously on a whole load of levels. There's a lot that has to be considered. Their position, your position, the law, all of that is considered at all times. Sensational Brit asks, will William make the necessary changes to modernise and streamline the royal family, or will he continue with his liberal woke agenda? What changes do you think are necessary? Do you know what? I do think William is going to make the changes necessary. That's not to say that I agree with everything that William does. Certainly he is on the woker side of life than I am. I think you'll know that. But what William believes in, and this is so fundamental, and I say this as a royalist and a monarchist, as he is, what William believes in is modernising the British royal family to the point where it can survive. And that's what matters, right? For all of us who are royalists and monarchists, survival is everything. So I am more than happy to say that William will make some decisions that, guess what, I disagree with. You will probably disagree too, because we're more on the traditional side of things. William has a flavour of thinking there needs to be some more dramatic changes, a more streamlined monarchy, absolutely, less major formal events, that sort of thing. So I'm not going to agree with everything, but do I think he's going to make the necessary changes? Yes. What changes do I think are necessary? Well, immediately I say stripping Prince Harry and Meghan of their titles and removing them and, well, Harry and the children from the line of succession. Lies 10ER says, is Dan Wootton's outspoken part of Meghan Kelly's broadcasting empire? Because that's how I came across your video and podcast. Without seeing your show on Meghan Kelly, I would never have come across your wonderful, informative broadcast. Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you so much. In answer to your question, no, Dan Wootton Outspoken is not part of the Meghan Kelly empire. We're not part of any empire. We are completely independent. So I have no investors, no big tech funding, no one pulling my strings, not part of the...
Hello everyone, and welcome back. Fresh royal headlines have once again placed King Charles, Prince Harry, and Meghan Markle at the center of public debate. Recent reports and commentary have sparked discussion about family relationships, financial independence, and what the future could hold for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Today, we'll examine the key claims being discussed, separate confirmed information from speculation, and explore why this story has attracted so much attention. The latest round of discussion focuses on reports suggesting that financial questions remain an important part of the ongoing relationship between Prince Harry and the royal family. Some commentators believe the issue extends beyond money itself and reflects larger questions about independence, family expectations, and the changing role of the monarchy. It's important to note that many of these claims come from media commentary or unnamed sources rather than official palace statements. One of the biggest questions being debated is how King Charles balances his responsibilities as monarch with his role as a father. Public reports often suggest that he hopes to maintain family relationships while also protecting the institution of the monarchy. Whether those reports accurately reflect his private thinking remains unknown, as Buckingham Palace rarely comments on personal family matters. Since stepping back from royal duties, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have pursued private business ventures, including media projects and other commercial activities. Supporters argue they have every right to build independent careers. Critics question whether those ventures have met expectations and debate what that could mean for their long-term future. Without access to the couple's private finances, outside observers can only speculate. Another major topic is how stories involving the Sussexes are covered by the media. Some believe Harry and Meghan receive excessive criticism, while others argue they receive too much benefit of the doubt. This difference in perception has become a recurring feature of royal reporting, with the same events often producing sharply different interpretations depending on the outlet. The relationship between King Charles, Prince William, and Prince Harry continues to attract worldwide interest. Reports occasionally suggest efforts at reconciliation, while others emphasize continuing disagreements. Because much of this reporting relies on unnamed sources, it's difficult for the public to know exactly what conversations are taking place behind closed doors. As long as the royal family remains in the global spotlight, stories about finances, personal relationships, and future plans are likely to continue. The most reliable approach is to distinguish between confirmed facts, informed reporting, and speculation. Future official announcements, if any, will provide a clearer picture than anonymous reports alone. This story highlights how closely the public follows developments involving the royal family and how quickly new claims can generate worldwide discussion. Whether these reports lead to meaningful changes or simply remain part of ongoing speculation is something only time will reveal. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more royal family news and commentary. Finally, we'd like to hear your opinion. How do you think the royal family should balance private family relationships with public responsibilities? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below.